world, bringing you the latest opinions
and fan reactions.
Back again. Welcome to FanPark Live.
Brand new shows every week.
UFF are going hard this year, you know. So make sure you lock in.
Come on.
Real fan opinions brought to you by Wash and Go. Hello and welcome back again to FanPark Live. I'm Terry Flewis from the Football Terrace. Chelsea won courtesy of a goal from Eden Hazard and then a scintillating, a sensational equaliser from Daniel Sturridge in the dying moments. 1-1. The points are split between them. Some would say a fair result in the end, but I want to hear from you. Why was Naby Keita on the bench today? Why wasn't one of the best midfielders in the world starting for Liverpool? Mo Salah, has he burnt out? Is his shoulder still giving him problems, or is he just in a bad run of form? And of course, Chelsea's main man, Eden Hazard. Have we finally found a system and a manager that is going to get the very best out of this talented Belgium? I'm joined by my main man, Chris Kane. What's happening, brother?
What's good, man?
You good? Yeah, mate, absolutely buzzing. Third game of the day. I'm knackered, but I want to hear from people on 0203 606 0315. But your thoughts on that game, though? Fair result?
Yeah, definitely a fair result. I think both teams created good quality chances. You know, you could argue that they should have scored. You know, you had the Shaqiri chance towards the end. You had Hazard's second opportunity with the one-on-one. But there was a high level of football from both teams.
Yep.
We had a conversation at the beginning of the second half when you thought, you know, you suggested that you felt that Liverpool weren't really in the game at that point. I felt like, nah, they have enough of the ball. They're moving the ball well, and they're creating enough opportunities, maybe not clear-cut chances, but opportunities to get back into the game. But you saw two top sides today.
Yep.
I think, I don't know if Sarri would be happy with it, considering that they equalised in the last minute. But I know Klopp would definitely have gone away from that thinking, that's a good point.
Good point. And a little bit like, as you say, and Liverpool fans do not get triggered. This isn't attacking your team. And I think even teams that are great, there's still areas for criticism. They had good opportunities. Shaqiri went a great cross from Robertson. Shaqiri should have done better. He put it wide. And then there was a header from Firmino that was, I think, well saved, as an example. Their goal was, look, screamers are always, they're great goals, but they come against, not against a run of play, but they're out of nowhere. Does that make sense? And, you know, the actual opportunities Liverpool created, it didn't look like it was going to go their way. But they managed, as you said, they managed to go and get that point. But I thought Liverpool improved massively when Mo Salah left the field. So all those chances we're talking about, all those chances they really started creating when they looked more involved was when Mo Salah went off. His performance again today wasn't what we've come to expect of the Egyptian. What do you think it's down to? Is it simply a bad run of form that 90% of players go through? Is it the shoulder injury? Has he been rushed back too soon? Or was last season a flash in the pan?
It's a hard one. I think it's too early on the season to make that call. I would say, going back to last season, that was an exceptional season by the expectations of any player, but Mo Salah didn't. If Mbappe had that kind of season, or Neymar had that kind of season, or more than likely someone like Ronaldo and Messi had that type of season, it's like, well, they've shown enough ability, generally speaking, or they've had that consistency over the years where you expect that kind of performance. We've never seen something like that from Mo Salah prior to that. Like, it's not like he's 22, 23. It's like, well, he's still relatively young. Like, I would say he's in his peak of his career. But that was an exceptional season for him. He was not like this at Roma. He wasn't like this at Fiorentina. We know he wasn't like this at Chelsea.
Remember Aaron Ramsey in the 2013-14 season?
I said it all that time. It's like
that one big season that you kind of live on. You know, I always remember Faustino Asprilla scoring a hat trick against Barcelona, and I think he dined out on that for 10 years. Could that just be the case with Salah? He's a very good player, but he had an exceptional season.
I think it's that. I think it's a combination of things. I think it's that. I also think it's a case of sometimes defenses or teams adapt to you.
Yeah.
I think also, what we expect from Salah is not necessarily the type of player he is. So that season, it was all about the goals. There was a certain system that worked, a certain way of playing that worked. And if teams start adjusting to that, then I don't know why you'd expect that player to have the same kind of performance or the same kind of goal-scoring performance that he did. Because
if it was a system, let me get what you're saying right here. I know your tactical breakdown is much more in-depth than mine. You're saying that if the system was creating the opportunities to make the goals as opposed to individual brilliance, if that system gets shut down because the teams adjust themselves, that will stop Salah from scoring.
I think the two things about the way Liverpool played last season helped his goal return. The first thing is that they played on the break a lot. They weren't a counter-attacking team or a team that sat back, but a lot of it was exploiting space in behind opposition defences. When a defence doesn't give you that space, that's going to affect what your forwards can give you, right? I think that's the first thing. I think the second thing is also part of that was to do with the relationship between him and Firmino. Firmino drops deep. He's effectively Liverpool's number 10. And when he can't drop deep, drag defences out of their usual position and then create space for Salah to exploit, then also that may affect what he can give you going forward. Don't get me wrong, Salah has a very excellent one-on-one ability. Like one-on-one, he's excellent. But the kind of goal that he scored to get the Puskas Award, for example, in the FIFA Awards right during the week, that's not what he does regularly.
No.
In terms of a winger cutting in onto his stronger foot and then, driving at defenders and doing that type of thing, Robin is a master at that. Messi, we know, is a master of that. Neymar's a master of that. Ronaldo, in earlier
days, yes, definitely.
But the majority of Salah's goals didn't come that way. It came from the fact that space was created for him to run into. And he effectively played like a poacher in terms of getting his goals.
I would agree. I would agree. And I think I also feel there's an element of...
I think the shoulder injury is something also that we have to take into account. We don't know
I think
if that still has an effect.
I think the way I don't think he should have played at the World Cup. I get why he played at the World Cup. I'm talking here purely on a lasting physical impact. I think playing at the World Cup and then having a bit part pre-season and starting the campaign, no rest, I think that's played a bit of taken a toll on him as well. And he looks a little bit lost out there for me. And there's a reason that he's being substituted off the field on a more regular basis.
You wouldn't see that happen last season.
No, not when you're 1-0 down. If you're 3-0 up, he would have come off maybe. We've got a Liverpool fan on the line that wants to have a chat with us, see what he or her is saying. Hello, welcome to FanPark Live. What's your name?
My name's Mark.
Hello, Mac.
Mark.
Mark, how you doing, mate?
All right, you?
I'm very well, thank you. What's your thoughts on your 1-1 draw today with Chelsea?
Mate, I celebrated that like it was a win.
Why?
I'm a Liverpool fan.
Yeah,
I'm a Liverpool fan. It's just because Chelsea was so disciplined, wasn't they? They was good on the ball. They was good defensively. David Luiz had a stormer. Everything Liverpool did today, we just couldn't break them down. And it was a trouble for us last year where we couldn't break teams down at certain games. And today it was a similar thing. Chelsea were just so disciplined, and when that goal went in from Sturridge, I just celebrated it like it was a win. I mean, Chelsea are a great team. Sarri's a great manager. What he's done for them in 2 months or 3 months, however long it's been there, is amazing. So we dominated the possession today, Liverpool. Possessions don't win you points, and it looked like we weren't going to get any points, and then to still be unbeaten in the league, still be joint top, just second to City on goal difference. I celebrated it like a win, and it was a great game for the neutral probably as well. It wasn't for me. I've shit myself.
No, do you know what? Like, I understand you celebrating it the way you did. I would have done exactly the same thing. I remember as well, a point away from home against what I would now consider to be title rivals in Chelsea is good practice. Generally speaking, if you win those games, the home ties, and you draw away from home with your title rivals, you're in a great shot of winning the league. When we're talking a bit about Mo Salah, do you think there's a bit of an issue with him? Do you think it's injury, a different form? Do you think maybe last season was just out of the ordinary because he doesn't look right? What do you think the issue is with Mo Salah right now?
How many goals has he scored so far this season? Is it 3?
Two or 3, yeah.
Yeah, he scored 3. He scored against Southampton, didn't he? The tap-in. He scored 3 goals this season, and he's not been himself. You see him when he's on the ball. He's playing 1-2s around people. He's getting the ball on the edge of the area. His final decision is not as good as this year it was last year. Like, there was certain times today where he's turned the player on the edge of the box. You think, oh, fantastic. Just stick it in top bag, and then he's hit it straight at the keeper. Or he's on the edge of the box, and you think, oh, fantastic. Stick it in the net, and he's trying to put Firmino in, and it's a bad pass, and it goes out for a goal kick. That's it is with Salah. I mean, you have players like Hazard, who's now the best player in the league, allegedly, but, one season on, one season off. I wish I could work at my place, have 1 year in, 1 year out.
I do tend to agree. I think on form he's the best. I agree with you. For me, he's got to do it 3 or 4 years on the bounce consistently to claim that accolade. Absolutely. In terms of sort of your start to the season, though, for me, different from last year. I don't think you've looked as good going forward, but structurally, I think Liverpool look the best I've seen them in over 20 years. Do you put yourselves in as genuine title contenders now?
Yes.
Lovely.
Yes, we are. We are. I mean, it's between... To be fair, I think Chelsea will die down towards the end of the season if they have a good Champions League run. It's the same reason why I thought Burnley would have a poor season if they have a good Europa League. You know, it's just squad depth for me. I mean, they played Champions League when they played West Ham, and then they're drawing 0-0 to West Ham, and then they play Liverpool another week game on Tuesday, and they've made many substitutions, and they've rested the team, and then they've got the number one team back for the weekend, and they've given Liverpool a great game, and it's been a good game. But now they've got another game, Champions League midweek, and I don't know who to play next weekend. I think what I'm trying to say is that come the end of the season, I think it will be between Liverpool and Man City. I mean, Liverpool have been crying out for squad depth for years now, and you look at Liverpool's bench today, they've got Fabinho, who didn't cost pennies, they've got Keita, who didn't cost pennies, sat on the bench, including Sturridge, who's a great goal scorer. You know, you can't doubt him that he gets injured a lot, but he gets injured a lot because he can't handle 5 games in a row. We don't need him to play 5 games in a row anymore. We need him to come on at the end of the game and get a goal.
I get that,
man. And then we've got Shaqiri as well. You know, squad depth. I think Man City and Liverpool.
Listen, mate, appreciate that call. Thank you very, very much.
Thank you. Have a good weekend.
Cheers. I mean, on Chelsea quickly, do you consider them title contenders? I mean, do you consider them title contenders at this point? I
do.
I think so.
I think they've proven that they can play with the best. You know, they didn't dominate Liverpool, but it was neck and neck. They had their chances to extend their lead. I think. Listen, what happened to Chelsea last year was a combination of things: selling their best, arguably one of their best players, Conte, and the whole tension between him and the players, him and the board, so on and so on. But they were champions only a season prior to that, right? And the majority of their players that they won that championship with, they've still got. So it isn't necessarily a case of quality. I mean, outside of maybe getting a new striker, but Chelsea have got the tactics right, in my opinion. Tactically, they're already close to how good they need to be. They've shown today they can actually defend pretty well. I think that was the one worry for Chelsea fans from the conversations I had with them is we look great in possession, we look great going forward, or not necessarily great, but we look good going forward. I think having a better quality striker will definitely make them step up a level. But it's very hard to say that they're not challengers at this point. Like they're at where they should be. They're 2 points off. It's still very early, but
of course. And look, anything can happen to any team at any point. Teams can go on great runs. They can go on a slump. It can happen. But I don't think any Chelsea fan would have expected 17 points from 7 games after last. I don't think they would have expected to be where they are right now, like sort of right on the edge of being near the top of the league. I
don't know about that, man, because I think if you go by tiers, right, it goes back to this concept I had when we did the show last week. But in terms of expectations for league campaigns, I think the top 3 tiers are: we should be winning the league, we should be challenging for the league, and we should be finishing top 4, challenging for a European spot, right? I think, or a Champions League spot. I don't think there are any teams right now that feel they should be winning the league. City have the quality to be winning that, but Liverpool are also very, very good. And Chelsea are also very, very good. So if I was a City fan, I wouldn't go into this campaign thinking we should be winning the league. They should be challenging though. I think Liverpool are also in that tier. Going back to Chelsea, the tier below challenging for the league is challenging for a Champions League spot. I would say that's more Spurs. That's more United. To a lesser degree, that's more Arsenal.
Well,
I think Chelsea are better than those 3 teams.
Fair enough. Chelsea fans, do you agree? Are you in this title race? Give us a call, 0203 606 0315. We have a Liverpool fan on the line now that we want to have a chat with. See what he's saying. Hello, welcome to FanPark Live. What's your name?
Joe.
Hello, Joe. How you
doing,
mate?
Joe?
Yeah, not too bad, geez.
Yeah,
not too bad.
Very well, thank you. Drew 1-1 with Chelsea. Are you happy with that result? Do you think it was a fair result and reflection of the game?
Yeah, it's definitely a fair result. I think both teams had chances to win. Obviously, a shame not to be able to get a bit of revenge after losing midweek, but A point out of something I didn't think, we were going to grab a goal is still a good result and still unbeaten, so can't really argue with that.
This is very true. I mean, myself and Chris were talking before we went on air, and we touched on the Mo Salah situation. I would love your opinion on that. Is it just simply a dip in form? He'll come good later on in the campaign for you?
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit of a weird one with Mo Salah. I mean, I think at this point last season, I think he was on the same amount of goals. But, as he went on to have the season that he had, I think everybody sort of expected him to suddenly bang, every game. But, I mean, I admit it's still a bit of a weird one. He doesn't quite look the same. But at the end of the day, this season, I don't think we're sort of relying on Mo Salah as much as we were last season. I think we're getting goals from a lot more areas on the pitch where we wouldn't expect. We've got sort of John Matip and things popping up.
And I think that's important for it to be spread amongst the team. And as you say, I can't quite put my finger on the exact reason why. He scored 3 goals, which is fair. It's not a bad return at this stage of the season. It's more just he's interested. He looks frustrated.
It doesn't look, like you said, it doesn't look right. And maybe it goes back to potentially overrating him last season, because people were talking about him. Obviously, if you score 40+ goals, you're a top player. There's no question about that.
He was being compared to Messi and Ronaldo.
Yeah, and that's my point.
I mean, that's ridiculous. I think, although last season was a very good season, I don't think anybody can disagree with that. I mean, being sort of compared to the likes of Messi and Ronaldo after doing it just after one season, again, he's just mounting unnecessary pressure on a player that's just had one decent season. I mean, he's still a very good player, but like I say, it's not like we're as much as reliant on him in this season. But I mean, a lot of people are saying the front three have been struggling, whereas Mane has more goals than he did at this point last season. Firmino still has a couple of goals, but it's like what I said. We're getting goals from all around the pitch this season, which is nice.
I agree.
Yeah, the quick thing I want to say, and it's not necessarily a question, but I would like to get your thoughts on it and see if you disagree or agree, is that you've only conceded 3 goals so far, and that was a big criticism of Liverpool last year, is that you didn't manage games well when you were up, you're leaking goals. Well, now it's kind of been a reverse. Like, now you look more solid defensively, but I think that may create a problem in terms of your forwards. Can you get the same output from all your strikers, but also be as effective in defence? Because Man City have, at this point of the season, scored 21 goals, Liverpool on 15, but they've conceded the same amount of goals. So it's like, well, as much as they improve, if City are still firing going forward, but also protecting their goal, then it's... what are your thoughts on that?
Of course, with all due respect, I see where you're coming from, but Man City are mountains ahead of quality of what Liverpool have. I mean, okay, we've got Virgil van Dijk in defence, which of course helps, and Alisson, but in terms of, Man City's defence and attack, they're still miles ahead of where Liverpool are.
Well, I mean, don't feel like you have to say no disrespect, because that's the point. I've had conversations with Terry about this, on the show, is that as good as Liverpool have been so far this season, City are still the team to beat, and that's not just because they're champions.
Yeah, of course. Of course, being the champions, you're going to be the team to beat. Without a doubt, City are still favourites. A couple of the managers around the league are already trying to, pin a little bit of pressure on Liverpool to sort of, tipping them as favourites, which I don't understand, because Man City, like I say, are still, miles ahead of everybody else in terms of quality.
That's a mind game, though, isn't it? It's to to put that pressure on there. Let's look at it from say you're a professional pundit, okay, and the professional pundits, they have bias. They all play for football clubs. If you listen to Steve McManaman when he's commentating on a Liverpool game, he, generally speaking, he's far more biased towards them than if he's watching, say, Manchester United play. So and the same works in reverse. And the only two actually that I think are completely neutral are Jamie Carragher and Gary Neville. Everybody else, you can hear it in what they say. They're not balanced. But people want to put that pressure on Liverpool because they want to see you crack. And they want to see you crack because they actually don't want to see you win the league. So if they put that sort of that chalice around you and say, right, you're the favourites, you're going to go on and do it. If you fall short by 5 points, they can actually attack you and say, well, you should have won it. We said you were the best. And I think that Liverpool handling that pressure is part of what it's going to take for them to get back to the pinnacle and back to the top. But look, are you happy with your start of the season? That's the most important thing.
Yeah, I mean, you cannot be not happy with the start of the season. We're unbeaten and joint top of the league. I mean, of course,
I'm playing well.
We would have liked to win today, but you know, it's not bad. But still a long way to go. Liverpool, as you say, are not in recent times very good at handling pressure. That's normally, you know, how we come undone.
Yeah.
In recent times, we've either had a very good start of the season and a bad end, or you know, vice versa. So it's going to be very interesting come December, January time.
Lovely, mate.
You know,
Listen,
if we're still at the top where we can be.
appreciate your call. Thank you very much,
Very
my
cool,
friend.
man.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Always
Cheers.
good.
Cheers, mate.
Bye.
A comment here from Hayes DC.
Oh, shit.
He says, despite him having an amazing season in his last season at Roma, getting more goals and assists than any winger in the Premier League has for a long time, the lack of knowledge here, and then like an emoji holding his face. I don't really get what you're getting at. No one here is attacking Mo Salah.
Like people,
It's
like
crazy.
we said it again. It's not that we didn't consider him a top player, whether it be performance or his overall ability, but he was getting considered the third best player in the world. That's skipping over Hazard, that's skipping over Neymar, right? And in terms of just forwards, forget the likes of Modric and all of those other top players. But in terms of similar players, you can't just have that season and think, okay, you're just better than Hazard now, or you're better than Neymar. No. You've not led a team to a title. You've not outperformed teams to on the Champions League like Neymar has, or in the World Cup like Neymar has.
These are those moments. We've seen it before. And a great example is, I always go back in around about 2011 time, Gareth Bale and Luis Nani in the Premier League. Their performances, their consistency and their outputs were very, very similar. You go back and look at the stats, go back and look at the games. They'd have like 2 or 3 amazing games, and then they'd be dealt with by a few teams. Difference was the Gareth Bale. He had like a really good year, and then he had a little bit of a dip, and then he worked out. Okay, they've kind of found me out a little bit. Let me work on my game. I'm going to try this differently. I'm going to try this new skill. I'm going to act in a different way. I've now got to circumvent the blockers in my way, and he went on to greater things. Luis Nani didn't, and he just became that same. He was, when he's hot, he was amazing, but then he'd be inconsistent, and that's the thing with. On their day, most top Premier League players, when they're playing to the best of their ability, can have world-class days, can have world-class periods. Sometimes they can have a world-class season. You know, I think that there isn't a Premier League player. Well, there are been some bad ones, but you're talking about the consistent Premier League players. I've seen James Milner have games where he's looked top world-class level. The reason he's not world-class is because he doesn't do that every week, every month, and every season. And I think with Mo Salah, there's that kind of he had a world-class season. And now there is pressure on him to do that again. People will look at it and he'll be scrutinised more because of what he has achieved, especially when, I would say 80%, as you pointed out, Liverpool fans were saying he should win Ballon d'Ors, he should win the FIFA Best Awards. So why should he not then be criticised in the same way that Messi, Ronaldo, Neymar and Hazard are? I think it stands to reason that he should.
Yeah, and I think on top of that is, listen, just specifically to this point, listen to what people are actually saying before you say you don't know what you're fucking talking about. No one says he's not a top player. No one says he isn't a top world-class player. However, you have to look at the difference between how he was playing before and how he's playing now. If he was the player that you said he was, do you think you take off Messi for Shaqiri or Ronaldo for Shaqiri? Neymar, I don't think he even had a bad game against Liverpool, but he was getting absolutely slated after that Champions League tie because we've raised expectations. So don't be quick to put a player there. But when they perform here, we're just supposed to say nothing about it.
I had this argument, and we've got a Chelsea fan I'm going to talk to in just a moment, but I had this argument about a year or so ago, and because I'm quite critical, in my club, I'm very critical of Anthony Martial when he doesn't play well. And they were saying, well, why don't you criticise Lingard in the same way? And I said, because my expectations are not as high. Lingard is here, and Martial is at this level in football. Okay, messing that up there, I'm just giving you a scowl. But it was like, because I rate Martial as a much better player, I expect more from him. And it's the same here with Mo Salah. I put him into that top of sort of those, I don't know if you call them strikers, but those attacking players. I put him into the top 10 in the world. Yeah. So I judge him like a top 10 player. But you've got to understand it, Liverpool fans, if you're going to have players that you consider to be in the top 10, top 5 in the world, they're going to face more scrutiny because they get more attention. This isn't what a Chelsea fan's got to say. We haven't spoken to no Chelsea fans yet. Let's see how they're feeling.
Yeah.
Hello, welcome to FanPark Live. What's your name?
Yo, it's John, man. Wagwan, Chris King.
John, you alright, mate?
Yo, man, I'm in shock right now. I'm not even gonna lie to you, man.
Why are you in shock?
Bro, I'm not, bro. Like that goal caught me by surprise, man. Like I didn't see that shit coming.
That was one of those. That's fine. You can swear on here. It's not a problem. That goal was sort of like. Have you ever watched a boxing fight where someone's ahead on points? You're in the 12th round and he just gets caught like the last second. It was just you got.
I know what you mean.
Yeah.
Yep, I know what you're saying. Look, man, it's called bad decision making again and again. That's why I go back, keep saying we need players with better decision making. You know, Ross Barkley doesn't play that forward pass. You know, Sturridge probably doesn't score that goal. You know, unnecessary forward pass. And one thing I like from Liverpool in that match, it demonstrated that they can bring players from the bench to make a meaningful impact. We brought in Barkley and Morata. They didn't make any meaningful impact. They brought Sturridge, second touch, goal. That is literally a lot of the difference between sides that can, you know, at least be, not if the best on their worst days. That's what I like from Liverpool. Chelsea, what I saw today was an inability to hold the ball in the opponent's half for a long enough period of time to, you know, create meaningful attack. Literally, we're playing pinball with Liverpool. We get pressed, throw it up front. You know, Giroud would head it wayward. Then we'd get you know, attacked again. You know, we need better midfielders, man. That's what we need. We need better midfielders and we need a better right winger. Willian is not it, man. Although it's cool you're banging, you know, elasticos, but it don't work like that, man. You got to at least make some meaningful contribution.
I just want to give some feedback on what you just said. I also want to ask you a question too that I'd like to get your thoughts on. Firstly, I think with Willian, I think he's a very good player. I just think that what they expect from him, he can't provide you. He's not that type of player. He's more like Hazard than he is like a right forward. That's why even though I don't consider Pedro a world-class player, but Pedro gives you something a bit different in the same way, going back to Napoli's Napoli under Sarri, you had Insigne, who essentially played the role that Hazard does for Chelsea now. You had Mertens playing, well, he's a better striker than Andrew, but he was mobile. But you also had Callejon. So you've got like an attacking midfielder playing out wide on the left. You've got a natural striker who's mobile. But on the right side, you've also got another forward. Someone who knows how to hide the pitch. Someone who knows how to run in behind, and someone who can also finish off chances. Willian doesn't suit that right wing, right forward type of role for Chelsea.
So is it a little bit what you're saying, just for people like me that want to understand this, it's square peg into a round hole?
Yeah, it's just like... Yeah, go on. Yeah, John, you continue.
Yeah, it's literally square peg in a round hole. I think Willian would be much better playing closer to the centre of the pitch, because out wide he gets fancy ideas and tries to do tricks, but he hasn't got the pace to beat a man effectively on the right a lot of the time. So he just ends up either, you know, running himself into a hole where you know, another player has to come bail him out with 1-2, or effectively doing nothing for large parts of the game. And then they bring on Victor Moses, who can't do anything meaningful on the wing, you know, try to do an impression of Iron Robin and then lose the ball.
What I would say though, in fairness, I get what you're saying, but this is Sarri's first season. He had some new players come in. These processes are going to take a few years and a few transfer windows.
My problem is not with the methodology is good. It's the people in place to execute it that are not up to par.
But it's going to take him time. I understand your frustration. I've seen Willian's name trending a bit recently, and there's been a lot of people unhappy with him because he can't do the role properly. But I think, as Chris has alluded to, that's kind of not his fault. He's been asked to do something different that he's not capable of doing. It's going to take Sarri, but it's going to take Sarri and Chelsea time and transfer windows to bring the right personnel in. So I think there's an element of patience required.
That's what we're saying. That's what we're saying. Yeah. We need to, you know, start making those moves now. You don't start planning to bring into a transfer window. You start planning to bring them in now. So as soon as the transfer window hits, boom, you can get them. Man City didn't bring in Riyad Mahrez in June or July. They started bringing him in January. They're putting the pressure on. We have to start going for a right winger now. Put that pressure on and get him in Jan if possible. That's what I'm saying. Even like a top tier central midfielder, we have to start going for one now.
I get that.
Because as soon as Kovacic came on, like, we couldn't even hold our own, you know, the middle third. It was just Liverpool coming in waves. Like, Barkley cannot hold the ball and distribute and take it back. Like, he hasn't got the vision that Kovacic has. Kovacic is a technician. Like, he's cool in the Croatian dark arts of holding the ball and running the midfield like Modric and Rakitic. That's someone we need for this system to work. Because when you have someone like that, it means that he can at least give enough time to other people to find space. Because in this variable, you're not always going to have a perfect pass to make. You're going to have to wait, you know, 5-6 seconds to make that pass. When you have a midfielder that can hold the ball and at least let others run past him or into good spaces, then that's when it works especially well. It's the same thing that happened with Fabregas last time. When he had time and space, he could execute the pass. But as he got pressed, he'd give the ball away, knowing that there weren't any people in the right position. That's what I'm saying. I'm not saying the methodology bangs. Like, Sarri ball is cool. Like, I like it. It's just the people in place to execute it. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Like, I'm definitely with you. And I guess that kind of goes into the question I was going to ask you, because we were talking about Chelsea's expectations, Chelsea fans' expectations for this season. I guess we've already started going into the answer a little bit. I think if there's one thing that's going to not help Chelsea this year, unless they really address it almost perfectly in January, it's the squad depth.
Yeah.
Like, I think there's more quality coming off the bench for Liverpool and Manchester City than there is for Chelsea at the moment.
Oh my God.
But the way that Chelsea are playing, I think, I said it before, it's already there, in my opinion.
No, I agree. Listen, really great call. Thank you very, very much again. I think Chelsea fans need to be patient. The one caveat I would say, or concern I would have as a Chelsea fan, is Roman Abramovich is actively trying to sell the club.
Okay.
He's had offers that have come in that have not met his £3 billion valuation. The reason he wants around £3 billion, they're not worth £3 billion, but he needs a higher amount because people got to remember the club owes Roman Abramovich somewhere in the region of about between 1.8 and 2.1 billion in debt. So he needs because he wants to sell it and get his money back. You know, what's it valued at? About 1.2 billion. If he sells it for 1.2 billion, there's zero way of him getting that money back. So he has to sell it for a large amount. So if he's trying to sell it, is he going to continue to fund the transfers in the way he has done? So that would be the concern I would have. I know obviously they paid the compensation for 2 managers in the summer. They spent a lot of money on a goalkeeper, so they have still invested money. But there is a lot of talk in the sort of financial world as to whether or not he's barely been in England anymore. That would be my concern as a Chelsea fan. Look, from their point of view, they might get another rich owner in that's as dedicated as Roman has been. But the problem is you never really know. Yeah. There have been richer people. You've got to remember, like the Kroenkes have more money. Like the ownership and the Osmanoff, I think his name was, the collective ownership of Arsenal over the last 10 years have had more money than Roman. The Glazers are worth about the same amount of money. If you go through and look at the valuation and the wealth of a lot of Premier League owners, a lot of them are on par, if not richer than one sec. I couldn't hear you. Add one sec, mate. Richer than Chelsea's owner, Roman, but they don't pump as much money in. So I think from Chelsea's point of view, it's you need a new owner who's willing to dedicate that kind of money.
I think the potential solution. I know we've got a caller waiting, so I'll try to be quick. Is that you've got good young players. Now, whether they're ready to step up and play at the Premier League level on a consistent basis, I don't think you need them to play 20-plus games or start 20-plus games. But I think in terms of the profile of midfielder, going back to, what John was saying in terms of Barkley not being it, Drinkwater definitely not being it, Victor Moses and Willian on the opposite flank to Hazard, they not being the right kind of players for what Chelsea need in this system. Do they have, considering they're probably the top 2 academies in England, shouldn't they have a player that could potentially fill that role in the down there? You've got Apandu, you've got Loftus-Cheek, you've got Hudson-Odoi. They've got players. Whether they can step up and be a part of a team that challenges for the title, I think Sarri is the kind of coach that can get them out of a young player. But should they or will they take that risk? In the meantime, I don't know.
Absolutely. We've got another call we're going to get on the air now. Hello, welcome to FanPark Live. What's your name?
Hey Ted, it's Carl. How you doing, man? I'm
good, thank you. How are you?
I'm doing pretty good. Pretty good, of course, yeah.
Good. Another victory for yourselves today. Well done. What was your thoughts on Chelsea versus Liverpool?
I thought Chelsea should have took it home, but, good game from both teams. Again, I remember a few weeks ago I had said to you that Liverpool, one thing they're lacking is that their attack doesn't look the same, and I was happy for that.
Yes.
And it's proven again today. And it's gonna, as your co-host said, it's gonna be the era that I feel it'll drop short this season. Because Salah, he has gotten 3 looks on goals today, and none of the shots were nothing like what he had done last season. I don't know, there's something happening with their attack which is not the same, and I think for that reason they're not going to be able to kind of bring the title home this year.
Okay, do you know what? Right now, you're right. There is something wrong with their attack. My caveat to that would be, as a concern for you, is they're only 2 points behind you with an attacking force that has not clicked. If they continue to defend and structure their games as they have done, and over the next 30-odd games their attacking force clicks into gear, surely that should send shivers down your spine. If they're this close playing poorly as an attacking unit, if it clicks as it did last season, which in my opinion is plausible because I think it's simply a dip in form, would that not worry you?
Well, seeing that you're going to make that assumption, if I make that assumption about my team continuing on the form they're playing, where's the difference there? You get what I'm saying?
No, I understand where you're coming from. I'm pointing out, are they going to challenge you? You seem you seem to think no way.
For them to beat us, I believe they have to click. Because their defense is not going to be good enough to beat City next week. That's what I'm saying.
Again, but
playing just raw good defense will not be good enough. They have to score at least 2-3 goals next week to really beat us.
It's not like Chelsea struggled against your Liverpool defense today. It's not that, like, they should have been 2-0 up.
Yes.
And they still had
Chelsea,
chances. So I think with Liverpool and Man City, in terms of, in terms of that battle, I think Liverpool could go into those ties thinking it's 50-50.
Do you know what? Just on a correction, Liverpool and City are actually joint on points, not 2 points behind. I looked at Chelsea. So
that's right.
I get your look. I understand your points there, Carl. I'm not assuming that Liverpool are going to click back into gear. I think they will. I think they have the quality and the class and the manager to make that happen. I just think that, if I'm being honest with you, I just think you are the team to beat, and City were amazing last year. I just think your disregard for other teams is slightly arrogant.
No, I'm not saying disregard. I really don't think they're good enough, though. I don't. You've seen them over the years. It's shown today. They don't have that complete thing about them.
Carl, is it Carl or Kyle?
It's just the fact, really.
Carl, can I jump in? So I just want to pick your brain a little bit.
Yeah, go ahead.
Do you think City's campaign last year do you think that is City's standard, or do you think they potentially aren't as good as they were last year, or do you think that is a standard that can play out throughout?
Right now, I would say it's kind of hard to beat 100 points, but right now, seeing them playing, I wouldn't be totally shocked if they did it again, to be honest.
Okay.
They're playing, let's look at it, they're playing without their best player, Mendes, off the field again, right? And they're still producing, like they're beating teams. Liverpool have really yet to really totally outclass a team.
Yeah, but that's my point with you. That's my point. This time last year, after 7 games, they were like, 7 points behind you and playing better. They've not clicked yet, and they are level on points. You had a 20. You won the league last year in your opening 13, 14 games, where you opened up this huge gulf between you and everybody else. You haven't done that this year. You are going.
Go ahead. Yeah.
But you haven't done that. Now you may, over the next 5 or 6 games, you might win all of them, and Chelsea and Liverpool and everybody else might lose more games, and you'll have that massive insurance policy and that huge buffer. It may happen again, but then we don't assume, do we? Because as you said, we shouldn't do the assumption.
Yeah, let me jump in, Carl, before you have the final word. So my take on this is that I think a lot of people saw what City were doing last year and they thought, okay, you've spent all of this money, they should be doing this. And I'm like, no, actually, with as much money as you spent, you don't actually have that many world-class players. So to win the league in the way that you did, I'm not going to call it you overachieved, but you definitely made that campaign. There was definitely something about that said, wow, okay.
Yeah.
You may have come slightly above your level, because if you look at the season Sane had, the season Sterling had, even how quickly KDB, Silva and Fernandinho clicked, and even Delph playing the way he did, and Edison, no one saw Edison after the Claudio Bravo incident. Like, you didn't see Edison being as good as he was, right? Now,
no, actually, I was kind of expecting that from him, to be honest.
Fair enough. Maybe
to be really honest.
Admittedly, I never watched Edison that much, so same thing with Alisson. Like, I don't have a clear idea of how good they really are as goalkeepers. But generally speaking, I actually felt a lot of your players played above their level. That could just be great coaching and what you're paying Pep to do. So that's one thing, right?
Yeah.
I saw this season seeing as, okay, well, potentially they may make more of an effort in the Champions League, so they may prioritise that when it comes to crunch time. I also think that you may see less goals from Sterling. Sane may still play at a similar level, but I don't see how the main players get any better, right?
Quick pointer though, Sterling, you really do believe you're going to see less from him? I actually believe we might see just about the same or more. His game has improved, I believe.
How can you make that?
No. How?
I'm joking.
Like, why do you think you may see more?
No, just how he's playing. He's playing with a whole lot more maturity. Like his goals this season, I think he has only scored one tapping this season so far, and there's one today.
Carl,
like his goals so far has been pretty good.
So okay, and I'm not disagreeing. I actually think Sterling looks better this year, in my opinion.
Yeah.
So why? I know they haven't started off well, but why can't the Liverpool attacking three go on to have a better season?
I don't know. I just don't see it. I'm not saying they're not going to come to life, but I think that they're going to be... Right now, Salah looks like a player which is lacking a confidence. They have a big game this midweek. If that doesn't go well, that doesn't get better for him either. They have another big game coming this weekend again, next Sunday against us. It's coming quick and fast.
So let me...
So it's not
next Sunday, you're going to Anfield, 4:30 on Sunday. Give us your predictions. What's the score going to be?
I don't know. I see a 3-1.
To City.
Given that we have a good refereeing game, because you know what? Over the years, we've been really having some shitty refs running the games. So yes, I actually do believe we'll go there, and I think we might pull a win off.
Do you know what?
Fair enough.
I need his confidence, boy, because he's...
Well done.
One more thing there, Terry, though. I wanted to touch on something. Well, this morning, again, United lost, right? And I was just thinking, when Chelsea had that down spiral before Conte came in, Chelsea did not do overall buying of players. It was the same players that Mourinho had that was looking like garbage that he used to win the league.
What's your point?
So my point is that you've been saying that it's the board, it's not Mourinho. I'm not saying the board doesn't have a part to play in this spiral that United is having, but the manager Mourinho has at least 80% of that responsibility.
Okay, so what have I? Can you tell me? You obviously telling me what you're saying. What I've said. What have I actually said on that? Tell me what I've actually said.
Based on what I've heard you said over the past weeks, I've heard it seems as if you're putting it where the board is at least 70% to be blamed for what's happening at United.
Well,
and I think it should be the other way around.
Let me
That's what I'm saying.
Carl, the point that he was making is that it isn't necessarily that Mourinho isn't responsible. It's almost like, okay, I've got two kids in my house. I'm the parent. I can see one kid. It doesn't work. I can see the way that kid relates with that other kid doesn't work. So I need to. You can't be in the same room, right? It's my responsibility. Yeah. As bad as a kid as you are, it's my responsibility as a parent to put you in another room if you're both misbehaving. That's what he said. He's not saying the board are responsible for everything, but ultimately the board are the ones that can make the decision to remove that factor. So that's what he's saying.
What I would say to you guys, and that's a great analogy. What I would say about it is this, and I'll say it, maybe the 1,000th time I've said this, but I'll keep banging the drum until it sinks into people's minds. Jose has made a lot of mistakes. Forget style of football for a moment, because that's actually not what's making the players perform badly. It's the relationships and the feeling at the club. He has made mistakes, and players have made mistakes. Whenever a team plays badly over a number of games, we can blame players for individual performances, but eventually the buck lies with the manager because he's in charge of motivating them, structuring them. Equally,
I agree.
Equally, when relationships continue to break down between the manager and the players, the manager's boss become responsible at some point because the buck moves on to the higher level. And my point has been this: Jose has messed up, Pogba has messed up, but the board are allowing the situation to continue and to spiral out of control, and they need to come in and remove it. So as angry as I've been with Jose on certain matters, as angry as I've been with Pogba and lots of other players at the club, there comes a point when I think, when are the people in charge, when are the authorities going to step in and resolve the matter? And equally, if we're going to go bigger picture than that, this is the third time in 5.5 years we have ended up in a similar position. So it's 3 manager picks on the bounce have gone wrong. 3 managers with different footballing philosophies. 3 managers with different scouting systems, transfer needs, and squad overhauls. When you have no foundation and you have no philosophy and you have no leadership at the top that's taking the club in the right direction in a footballing sense, that is the bigger picture that needs to be questioned. You know why? Because we can bring in another manager who maybe this guy's football's better. Maybe his football's better. But maybe his man management is even worse, and then that falls down in 18 months to 2 years. We need to fix the root cause. Something I don't know if you know about. Just research and learn about root cause analysis. I've made my money through root cause analysis. And when you do a root cause analysis on Man United, it always ends up back at the feet of the board. But listen, I appreciate your time. Look, and I understand his question there. But
I had to jump in only because it's like, even me as a co-host, it just gets boring. Whether we're covering Man United or other teams, it's boring because it's like, listen, man, if you're going to tune into any show, right, or if you're going to pick apart the words of any person online, shows that may be on other platforms, and so on and so on, if you're going to pick apart those things, actually listen to what is being said. Do you know what I mean? Like, don't get me wrong, I don't expect that from every person that calls in or everyone that types or whatever, but like, dog, like, I literally feel like for the past 2 weeks, I've heard you say the same thing over and over again, and it's not your fault. It's because people are, what it seems at this point, willingly not trying to listen.
Well, they are. Do you know what it comes down to? And this maybe is it brings to a head what I call Jose derangement syndrome. It's what I've said all along. Questioning, I don't like his style of football. That's not Jose derangement syndrome. That's a footballing opinion. I don't like how he handled that particular bit of man management. That's fine. It's when, no matter what the situation, no matter what is being said, you can't look past him. You can't. It's like, I actually sometimes feel like Pogba could have, and I use Pogba as an example, if he walked onto the centre circle against Newcastle next week, pulled his shorts down and took a dump, they would blame Jose because everything's on him. And for me, it's like, I blame him for lots of things, but you have to look beyond that. You have to look at the real problems. A bit like the other reverse on this. If your team's doing well, you can still criticise areas. But people seem to have an issue with that in this day, where it's like, oh, I can't say nothing bad about my football team. We're like second in the league. Yeah, but what would make you better? I remember criticising Man United teams that have won titles because you think, oh, next year, if we solve that little problem as well, we could be even better. But you know what it's like. I think, look, the people that comment, they're just doing it to try and throw you off. But, you know, Carl, he comes up, he's got some good points. But yeah, I appreciate the backup there, because I do feel like I've repeated myself 1,000 times. Do you know what I should probably do now is not talk about it anymore and actually refuse to answer and just say, go back and watch.
Yeah, it's true. It's literally that simple.
Because I've put it out there, my viewpoints and opinions. And what I'm not going to do, and we spoke about this, I'm never going to be, I did it when I was younger with Moyes and LVG. I'm not going to go on camera. I'm not going to go on Twitter and lambast someone. I'm not going to join the mob rule. And there is almost I was fuming today when we lost. And it actually does. When you scream and shout and call people names and get really aggressive, it does take there's a relief to it. And mob rule feels quite good when you're in the middle of that. It's why when riots happen, people that would never riot or break the law jump in and get involved, because I think what you end up doing is you end up excreting frustrations you have about other areas of your life, but you use this as your ability to channel. I just made a point, and I said it 2 years ago, I wasn't ever going to do that again, because I reflected upon my own behaviour, the things I was calling managers, the things I was calling players. You know, it's embarrassing. Like, I look back and thought, if my son saw me speaking like that, I'd be embarrassed of myself. You know, I see grown men going on camera today, the words they're using to describe Jose, I just think, imagine you're at work and you do a bad job and the customers are talking to you like that. You wouldn't stand for it. Every business in the country has that sign up. Our staff won't tolerate verbal and physical abuse. You know, even if they do a bad job or they upset you, you can't do it. And I want to try and reflect that into football. I get there's more passion involved, there's more love, but you ain't got to call the man names. You haven't got to attack him. You haven't got to wish illness on him. You know. And for me, if we start this channel and we're on here and we're kicking off and we're screaming and we're angry, we send people down that road. And I don't want to be a channel, and I don't want to have a platform that does that. Yeah. Like, that's just not me anymore. I'm a grown man, and that's the way to do it.
Well said.
Listen, I think we've come to the end of today's show. Appreciate all the callers, all the viewers. Obviously, Chris, quality as ever, my man. Sweet as, bruv. Everyone enjoy yourselves. Smash that like button. Take care, and I'll see you all again soon. Bye-bye. Bye. That was a good show. There's a comment here for someone saying, I wish illness on Mourinho.
Real fan opinions brought to you by Wash and Go.